Busy talking to myself there. All right, hello. Jennean here with inspired messages. Hey, hello. Whoa. Oh, I was like, where is that noise coming from? Okay, so it's from my phone. So today's astrology, we have with today's Sun Uranus by quintile, we embrace our uniqueness, reinforced further by the Aquarius moon. We more readily find channels for expressing our need for change and progress in creative and unique ways today. The moon spends the day in Aquarius, and we are able to express and embrace our independence while including others. We're more intellectual and principled today, and we strive towards greater honesty and a broader viewpoint. Our Schumann is fairly calm right now. We have experienced X-class solar flare as well as some other M-class smaller ones. And those will be hitting us, I believe, on the 7th. We'll probably be seeing that as a reflection in the Schumann resonance. Those of you that are new to the community, quantum healing, transformation community of learning here. Under the guides, we have an explanation of the Schumann resonance and why that's spiritually applicable to us. So stay tuned for some more content. We've got a bunch of stuff that we'll be working on. We are on graveyards currently, so this is why we're having evening videos. I work from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I get a lot of stuff done for the business that way. So stay tuned for some lots, good English. Stay tuned for a lot of extras that will be coming your way. We are preparing here for the Aries full moon. So those of you that would like the specific Aries full moon ritual, we will be working on that over the next couple of days, and that will be available. So we will be doing a post for those of you that want that. You just need to let us know and we'll get it sent over to you. We'll be changing it up here for the Aries one because we believe that there's some important energy that we can be harnessing with this one. Aries is very fiery, and there's some awesome releases that we can be taking advantage of. So today's inspired message, I'm not going to be doing the PowerPoints as much. I'm going to just be doing the video. If it's something that you want the content, then I can send you over a copy of some of my stuff if you would like. We'll see. We're just feeling it out for the month, and then we'll decide how the inspired messages is going to continue on. I'm loving it so far. What we might be starting to do after October is it will not be playing live in the group. It will be Zooms, and they will be recorded, and you can request a recording if it's one that you resonate with. So, okay. So blasting myths of boundaries. It's very, very important. Before we start creating, communicating, and enforcing boundaries, let's go over some myth blasting so that you have a solid foundation to begin learning this new skill. Now, boundaries are an essential gift to yourself, to creating peace for yourself. So incredibly, incredibly important to yourself. They're what protect you when when you're uncomfortable. So the first myth is, I don't have the right to set boundaries with my spouse. So this is the complete opposite, and you have every right to set boundaries around what you will and will not tolerate from other people. You have even more rights to do this with your spouse. You have a right to expect, and that you have a right to expect specific virtues and values that were agreed to when you guys first got married. And I think that there's a big myth that we aren't allowed to set any kind of boundaries in our marriage. And I wanted to go over it because it's incredibly important that you understand that a healthy marriage and a healthy relationship is easier to coexist when you guys have strong and healthy boundaries, because it shows people what to expect, and it's actually easier to coexist around each other when you have healthier boundaries. When somebody's constantly tiptoeing and wondering, am I crossing a boundary? It can be really anxiety inducing. And when you have strong boundaries of like, this isn't okay, and you understand yourself in that way, it's not only easier for yourself because someone's not constantly stepping over your boundary because you haven't voiced it, as well as for yourself, not constantly having your boundaries broken. So another myth is boundaries are controlling. We have a huge myth in society that boundaries are meant to control other people. The truth is, boundaries are what you will or won't do. That's not controlling another person, that's self-control. Others are free to make healthy or unhealthy choices, and you're simply deciding what you'll do in each case. So a lot of the time when we begin, what we try to do with boundaries is set a way of controlling how someone coexists with us. And that's not what boundaries are. Boundaries are telling somebody that I'm not comfortable with this. If you do this, you won't be able to coexist in my energy. So that gives them the freedom of choice. You're not controlling them, you're not manipulating them. You're simply saying, if you cross this boundary, this is what's going to happen, and they get to choose. So if they want to do unhealthy boundaries, then your consequence either is upheld or they respect your boundary. So third myth, we're on the third one, Janine. Third myth is boundaries are mean or punishment. The truth is, boundaries are an act of love and compassion for yourself and for others. If we don't let other people experience the natural consequences of their actions, we're not helping them understand the world around them and sending the wrong message that their behavior is acceptable when it's really not. Boundaries use our voice to teach people what we're willing to tolerate and what we're not willing to tolerate. This one is such a big one. And this was one that was really tough for me in the beginning, especially being raised in a household with addiction, multiple addictions, was trying to take the consequences away from somebody. Watching somebody suffer. I am very strongly an empath, and know that a lot of you in here are light workers and serious empaths, and a lot of your guys' strongest ability is clairsentience. So we try to alleviate people's consequences from their life. And one of the things that I've learned as a healer, and just through my own healing journey, is I'm not showing anybody love by enabling them, by taking away their consequences. Actually, it's the exact opposite. When I love somebody, I implement strong boundaries and I allow them to feel the consequences of their behavior. And that can be a tough one to sit back and watch, but you're doing somebody a bigger benefit in their life than you are by taking those consequences away. Specifically when it comes to addiction, if you're enabling somebody, you're taking away their consequences. And when you take away their consequences, you're taking away their rock bottom. And rock bottom can sometimes be the only thing that's going to save their life. So try to look at boundaries as not mean, not punishing. You're actually giving them the biggest gift of love. It doesn't always feel like it in the beginning, but in the end, honestly, it's the biggest case of love. So other mystery. Well, I'm just making things up today. Forgive me. Other myth. Boundaries don't work because my spouse continues to cause chaos and behave in hurtful and harmful ways. So this isn't just about spouse. I've got this from a group that I've been working in for years and years. So boundaries don't work because my friend or loved one continues to cause chaos and behave in hurtful and harmful ways. You can apply this to friends, you can apply this to your family, you can apply this to your loved one, whoever in your life. The truth is, while it's true we can't control other people or make them change, that's not the purpose or power of boundaries. The purpose of boundaries is to help us create and retreat to a physical and or mental mindset that will allow us to be distanced from harmful behaviors of others. And this one's incredibly important if you have a toxic family. This one's incredibly important if you have a loved one that's in addiction. These are so important that it's you're not controlling. You have to get out of the mindset that you can change somebody else, that you can control them. It's just simply allowing you to get physical and or mental safety. Boundaries are your safety. And a lot of the time, the chaos that comes along with addiction and toxic behaviors and anything that comes along with trauma and pain, that's a side effect of trauma is addiction, is chaos. It's pain. Pain causes this chaos, and boundaries are your way of saying, physically, I'm not okay with this. Mentally, I'm not okay with this. Emotionally, I'm not okay with this. So maybe think on what your other myths that you have. You can feel free to share with us in the comments of the live or here in the Zoom, Miss Twinnie Mary. And blast fears about boundaries. Most of us experience some level of fear about boundaries. Let's get our fears about boundaries out in the open and acknowledge them so they have less power. So number one fear, boundaries can be scary because the fear of the unknown. Living a boundary lifestyle and mindset is a new way of thinking, speaking, and behaving. We have no historical frame or reference to predict how others might react or how we might problem solve if something unexpected happens, and that can be uncomfortable. Acknowledging this fear is half of the battle. Acknowledging that boundaries are healthy and worth the effort to take back our power is the other half. And understanding that when you first start doing boundaries, sometimes we can kind of fumble around. And one of the things that I really want to get clear about in this group is when you're trying to implement anything new, you're implementing change. And when we do change, we need to look at it like a kid when they first start walking. You know how awkward it is and uncomfortable and wobbly. It's like that for anything when you're trying something new. So to love yourself and understand that when we first start setting boundaries, it's a bit fumbly and a little bit clumsy, and sometimes they're very extreme and we aren't sure how to navigate, but it's worth that period of discomfort and understanding that people are going to push back. When you've spent your whole life not implementing boundaries and you suddenly start doing it, you're going to get pushback, and you have to breathe and stay strong, because on the other side of that pushback is people either align with it because you keep your boundaries strong, or they push away. And you get your peace either way, right? So you have to stay with the bigger vision and understand that with any change that we're creating in our life, which is all about, this group is all about change, transformation on all levels. This is very much a huge gift of becoming a healthy person and elevating yourself. Part of manifesting is becoming that person and that version of that person that has the things that you want, and you have to become that person. So boundaries is going to be a huge foundation for that. We fear being responsible or for hurting others' feelings or making them angry. This is going to be your number one fear if you are a severe empath, if you are codependent, If you are just from a very toxic lifestyle, this is going to be very uncomfortable for you. This is going to literally make your skin crawl when you come from a toxic family. We need boundaries because of other people's behaviors. Oh, I have something in my eye. Forgive me. Other people's behaviors can hurt and harm, and using words requesting they stop haven't brought us sanity. It's not fair that we are the only ones who must shoulder that hurt alone. It's it's healthy and fair if an enforcement brings them hurt feelings. They aren't expecting real harm by you withdrawing as an enforcement. They have the right to feel anger and express it with I feel statements. However, if they act out in a toxic or wounding way, that needs a boundary also. So people are allowed to, oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. All right. I'm going to take a little break here and just get whatever's in my eye out. So just give me like 2 minutes here. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Oh my goodness, I have a hair in my eye. All right, so I'm going to go over that one again. So one of the biggest fears is being responsible for hurting others' feelings or making them angry. We need boundaries because other people's behavior can hurt and harm, and using words requesting they stop haven't brought us sanity. It's not fair that we are the only ones who must shoulder that hurt alone. It's healthy and fair if an enforcement brings them hurt feelings. They aren't experiencing real harm by you withdrawing as an enforcement. They have the right to feel anger and express it with I feel statements. However, if they act out in a toxic or wounding way, that needs a boundary also. So understanding that this happens a lot of the time when we're starting, especially if we're coming from a toxic environment or toxic sounds so negative, but a lot of the time toxic is addiction, it's mental health issues, it's all of these things that come along with trauma. All right, so the next one. So another fear that we have is we worry about losing our relationship permanently, and that will cause pain. So a lot of us will avoid boundaries because we are worried that we're going to lose a relationship permanently. This is understandably the most common concern. What we must remember when setting boundaries is the relationship as we currently know it is already changed from what we originally agreed to into something painful. Their behavior has become a detriment to our emotional well-being. A lot of the times when we have to enforce a boundary, it's because something has happened in a big way. This has a lot to do with addiction, what I'm reading right now. But a lot of the times when we're about to enforce a big boundary, we are really scared about losing the relationship. On their own, the other person's behavior is likely to get worse, not better. At some point, you will be faced with choosing your own well-being over the relationship. Not choosing your own well-being keeps you in limbo, not enjoying relationship comforts and not being able to make personal change. Boundaries can give you data about whether a person is willing and capable of changing their behavior that is upsetting you. You need to know this one way or another. You have to be willing to face this. Sometimes when you're implementing boundaries, the data that you're getting is this person doesn't respect you, this person isn't willing to change, and this person really doesn't care about your boundaries. And you have to be willing to look out for yourself. And a lot of people avoid healthy boundaries because, and I see this coming from a super toxic family life. You know, both sides of my family, but specifically my indigenous side, very, very heavy residential school trauma has caused some very toxic behavior in my family. And my generation, my cousins and I, are the first generation to start changing that behavior. And that's nobody's fault. What happened to them is not their fault. The trauma that happened is not their fault. But we know better and we're starting to implement the boundaries. It's not easy, you know. I've had to literally excommunicate an uncle because of his behaviors. You know, it was painful for me, you know, having these people in my life that were supposed to be people that I look up to, that I trust, that I care about, and having the data, once I started to understand boundaries, the data was coming back that this person didn't care that they were making me uncomfortable. This person didn't care that they were hurting me. This person didn't care that my emotional well-being was being harmed by their specific actions. So I'm coming from a place when I talk about these things, I've gone through a lot of these fears. So now that we've exposed some myths and fear about boundaries, it's time to take the first stab. So there's a formula to boundaries. You want to sit down, and tomorrow is going to be a really, really good inspired message, because you have to know yourself. And part of that is understanding what your values are. Once you understand what's important to you, what your values are, what drives you, you have to know who you are first in order to set proper boundaries for yourself. You have to know what's going on. Sarah says, I read a good post today, shared the people who have issues with individuals setting boundaries is because they benefited from the individual having no boundaries, which is so true. Those with the most anger at me were those. Yes. See, it's like such a telltale thing. And you get used to it. You start to feel empowered after a little while. But the beginning, you know, I give you a warning, because when you're first starting this healing path and this journey of growth, and you're implementing boundaries and you're discovering yourself and you're empowering yourself and you're changing from who you used to be, you make other people in your life uncomfortable. And that with that comes pushback, and that comes with people trying to drag you back down to where you were, and you have to breathe through it. And Mary says, yes, I may have to put boundaries on the insurance company because the repairs to my car may be more than they want to pay. Yes, those are strong boundaries. Those are good ones, Mary. Yes, I've noticed that people that yell when they talk, you need boundaries, especially if your throat chakra is not in alignment. And especially with you, Mary, you're super, super clairsentient. You're super empathic. So when people yell at you, you have to have strong boundaries about that, because it throws you energetically off really easily. Not so much now that you've really discovered yourself through the mentorship, and I've seen you like grow exponentially over that 12 months. I've seen you transform into a completely different human being. But you know, through just self-discovery and boundaries, that you need to have strong boundaries about that. And Sarah says, I feel really good. I'm sticking to my boundaries set now, especially when with one certain person. That gives me chills. It makes me so excited. So let's get into the formula of how to set boundaries, because I find when I first began this journey, I didn't know how to set boundaries. And I realize I'm kind of going quite long today, but this one is really, really near and dear to my heart. This was really important to me, and I will try to rein it in a little bit more. But boundaries was the single one most pivotal moment in changing my peace of mind, empowering me, and completely transforming my life. Was understanding boundaries in a big way, and it didn't happen overnight. It did not. So in the group that I deal with that helped change my life, because I had an addicted partner, was this formula. It starts with when you blank. So this is how you're always supposed to be communicating your boundaries, not just you did this and I don't like it. So that's not how we go about it. When you implement your hurtful behavior that they did, I feel, you choose words from the feelings wheel to describe your emotions with that behavior that they did that's bothering you, making you uncomfortable, that's hurting you. If you, and then continued hurtful behavior, so you reinforce the behavior again, I will, and what you will do to feel safe. Some examples might be say when you, we'll use Mary's example, when you yell constantly at me, I feel afraid. I feel afraid. If you continue yelling in my presence, I will leave the room. So that's a really, really powerful boundary. You're welcome, Twinny. Just kidding. That one is a really good one, because you don't have to say they have to leave the room. You will remove yourself from the situation in whatever way that you have to put yourself. Maybe you have to leave the house, right? But that's after you do that a few times, this set person that's doing this behavior will learn that if they're going to continue to do that, they will stand there like a dodo bird by themselves. We love this person, but as an example, that is and it becomes very fluid, and you become very good at it after a little while. So let's bring up my lesson. I'm not going to do all of my lesson here because this is specifically for the mentorship, but I wanted to go over a few of the different types of boundaries, and then we'll end the inspired message. But I got really passionate about it, so we went deeper than I thought we were going to go. Okay. So the simplified version, I will share the screen just for this so you guys can see it. Actually, I might as well see. Yeah, no, we won't keep it. All right, so right here, when you blank, I feel blank. If you blank, it's nice to see your beautiful face there, Twinny. I will blank how I create space where I feel uninvaded. So we'll stop the share. That's going to be your formula for setting boundaries. That's going to be the easiest and most fluid way to go about this. So the different types of boundaries, I'm not going to go into too much depth, but physical boundaries. Physical boundaries include your needs for personal space, your comfort with touch, and your physical needs like needing to rest, eat food, and drink water. So a lot of us don't think these things, and your biggest highlight for having a boundary being crossed is you start feeling resentment, you start feeling amped up emotionally, you start feeling angry, upset. Any of those boundaries are being crossed. It's okay to let people know that you don't want to be touched, or that you want or need more space. It is also okay to say that you are hungry or that you need to rest. So healthy physical boundaries might sound like, I am really tired, I need to sit down now. I am not a big hugger, I am a handshake person. I need to eat. I'm going to go grab something to eat. No, I don't want you to touch me like that. Don't go in my room without asking first. So all of these things, anytime you kind of get this like amped up feeling, something is being, it's a warning sign that a boundary is being crossed, that you're not healthy, you're not healthy, you're not happy, you're not comfortable with what's happening. So instead of continuing in this resentment feeling, which is not doing your wellness any good, you start focusing on how can I implement this boundary? And those people that wake you up constantly, or you're not getting any downtime, and you're an introverted person and you just really not feeling very good, or you're just having some mental health problems and you kind of really just need to rebalance yourself. All of those are good implementing for physical boundaries. So emotional boundaries. Hold on a second. I just need to let my friend know that I'm still in my video. Okay. All right. So emotional boundaries. Emotional boundaries are all about respecting and honoring feelings and energy. Setting emotional boundaries means recognizing how much emotional energy you are capable of taking in, knowing when to share and when not to share, and limiting emotional sharing with people who respond poorly. Respecting emotional boundaries means validating the feelings of others and making sure you respect their availability and take in emotional information. I speak on this a lot. Lucy's saying something. Hi, Lucy. This makes so much sense. Brene Brown said something along the lines, when your communicational needs are not met on a regular basis, resentment grows, and the boundaries being understood is a huge communicational need too. Yes, I love Brene Brown. I love her. Emotional boundaries. If you're an empath, a light worker, which I'm like literally calling you guys into this group, you're on this planet as an exceptionally highly emotional being. You feel the emotions of other people, and part of emotional boundaries is setting them to look out for yourself. This is where you receive a lot of peace. So it might sound like, when I share my feelings with you and get criticized, it makes me totally shut down. I can only share with you if you are able to respond respectfully to me. I'm sorry you are having such a tough time right now. I'm not in a place to take in all of this information. Do you think we can come back to this conversation later? And can I highlight this one? Because a lot of the time when we're increasing our boundaries, we have people in our life that were raised in generations where we were each other's therapists, and we emotionally dump. And it's okay when you're in a relationship where it's equal and you guys, do a little bit of venting and then it stops at that. But when somebody just calls you and like barfs emotions on you and you feel like you're taking them on, it's okay to say, I'm not okay right now. Can we do this another time? Can I listen to you maybe tomorrow? You're not being a bad person. I'm having a hard time and really need to talk. Are you in a place to listen right now? So important. That one is so important, to get into the habit of creating a healthy space between you and your loved one, be it a friend, be it a partner, asking if they're okay to listen, because sometimes we get into this habit of just launching into something that we're feeling passionate about. And it's okay, because I have been this person. I didn't know how to emotional regulate, and my emotions were super heightened. So I felt the need to just get them out. And I didn't realize the repercussions of what it was when somebody else was doing it when I was doing it to someone else, what it was like to absorb that. I really can't talk right now. It isn't the right time. Emotional boundary violations include discussing and criticizing feelings, asking questions that are not appropriate for the relationship, reading or going through personal and emotional information, asking people to justify their feelings, assuming we know how other people feel. This is actually a cognitive distortion. And I might go into this in another time later on for an inspired message, but cognitive distortions, a lot of us have a hard time with using our gifts, psychic gifts, and understanding when we're experiencing a cognitive distortion, because they're two very highlighted things. Assuming that we understand how someone else feels is not always the case. You know, sometimes we are wrong. Telling other people how they feel, emotional dumping on people without their permission, sharing inappropriate emotional information with your children. That's a big one too. I have experienced that a lot myself. All right, time boundaries. Your time is valuable and it is important to protect how it is utilized. Setting time boundaries is incredibly important at work, home, and socially. Setting time boundaries means understanding your priorities and setting aside enough time for the many areas of your life without overcommitting. When you understand your priorities, it is much easier to limit the amount of time you are giving to other people. And this is so important for your own mental health. Healthy time boundaries might sound like, I can't come to that event this weekend. I can only stay for an hour. Do you have time to chat today? I would love to help, but I would be overcommitting myself. Is there another time? We have family time on Sunday, so we won't make it. I'm happy to help with that. My hourly rate is. So that's really important when you're starting out a business. Those of you that are working on MLM, those of you that are working on your own gifts and giving them to the world, you are a divine energetic being, and you are justified to have an energetic exchange instead of just giving yourself away for free. All right, so sexual boundaries. Healthy sexual boundaries include consent, agreement, respect, understanding of preferences and desires, and privacy. Healthy sexual boundaries include asking for consent, discussing and asking what pleases you, requesting condom use if you want it, discussing contraception, saying no to things that you do not like or that hurt you, protecting the privacy of the other person. This might sound like, do you want to have sex right now? Is this comfortable for you? Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. I don't like that. Let's try something different. A lot of the time, especially as females, we feel that it's important for us to please and give up our boundaries. And it's empowering to know if you don't like to do something, you don't have to do it. I don't want to have sex tonight. Can we cuddle instead? I'm really into blank. Is it something that you would feel comfortable with? And these feel awkward and uncomfortable when you first get started, but it's really important and empowering to you and your partner. Sexual boundary violations include sulking, punishing, or getting angry if someone does not want to have sex. This is important. This is a huge boundary violation. I hate to even say it, but a lot of men do it, and there are a lot of women that do it as well. Not asking for consent, pressure to engage in unwanted sexual acts, unwanted sexual comments, leering, lying about contraceptive use, lying about your health history, criticizing the other person's sexual preferences, and unwanted touch. So, and that gets into the deeper stuff, but I don't want to trigger anybody. But those are important to go over because sometimes we don't think how deep our boundaries are allowed to be. Just a couple more and then we'll end here because apparently I decided to go on a super long inspired message here. So intellectual boundaries. Intellectual boundaries refer to your thoughts, ideas, and curiosity. Healthy intellectual boundaries include respect for the ideas of other people, and they can be violated when your thoughts and curiosity are shut down, dismissed, or belittled. Respectfulness and willingness to dialogue and understand are important here. Intellectual boundaries also means considering whether it is a good time to talk about something. So they may sound like, I know we disagree, but I won't let you belittle me like that. So it is okay to disagree with each other. And this is a big cultural shift that's happened in a toxic way on social media and in younger generations than myself in general is we don't know how to disagree anymore, and we it becomes this huge thing when we're allowed to just say I don't agree. We can respect and love each other and not agree on things. I would love to talk about this more, but I don't like talking about it during Thanksgiving dinner. When we talk about this, we don't get very far. I think it's a good idea to avoid the conversation right now. I can respect that we have different opinions on this. It can also be, holy mackerel. It can also be, I'm too upset right now to have this discussion. Can we talk about it later? If you are a person that needs to process your feelings because you spew things, because you're emotionally amped up, if you need time to regulate yourself, you are 100% allowed to do that. It's actually important. And a lot of the time it means a way less amped up fight. So material boundaries. Material boundaries refer to items and possessions like your home, car, clothing, jewelry, furniture, money, etc. It is healthy to understand that you can and cannot share, and how you expect your items and materials to be treated by the people you share them with. Having limits on your material items are treated, how your material items are treated is healthy and prevents resentment over time. This might sound like I can't lend out my car. I'm the only person on the insurance. We can't give any money. We would be happy to help in another way. Sure, I'm happy to share my dress with you. Just a heads up, I do need it back by Friday. So all of these things are boundaries. And when you're finding yourself starting to get resentful or annoyed, for me with the car, it was I'm too tired to give you a ride right now. And I would get the pushback about, well, I'll give you money for gas. And that like belittled how I was feeling. And I, at that time, didn't understand that I had the right to say no. I was allowed to say, I'm not a taxi and I'm not going to drive you everywhere. Can I do it later? Can you figure something else out? Or hey, can you come to me, a day or two ahead of time and let me know that you are going to need a ride so that I can, rearrange my schedule so that I do have more time. All of these are really healthy boundaries that created so much more freedom in my life, because that was one that really kind of charged me up. Was I got my license when I was 16 years old. I was put through driving school. So I had it very young. And my brother was very toxic, and he used to really force me to just constantly drive him around everywhere. And I found myself feeling really angry about it and really resentful, because I was trying to say no, but at that time I didn't have my voice. So I had a really hard time with explaining that. So that's part of, a little sneak peek of what we go over when I work with somebody. With the mentorship, we did 48 lessons. So 48 lessons over 12 months. I have broken them up into coaching programs. So depending on what it is that you want to work on, these are available. That I do have the healing package. I can't remember which one it is right offhand. Hold on. Excuse me. The Phoenix Rising. So the Phoenix Rising is the therapy one that will help you with deeper values, understanding yourself, really kind of shifting into healthy boundaries and powerfully setting them. That's what the accountability is for. And then we go into things like what drives you. When you understand yourself on a really deep level, you become really empowered, and you show up differently in the world. You can even ask Twinny. I'll have her do a little comment and we'll read it out about how she feels about all of these things. The Phoenix Transformation Program helps calm your nervous system, because boundaries are what help you stay safe emotionally when you don't know how to do that on your own. It helps healthier relationships and deeper connections, intimacy, increased financial flow, because you're releasing yourself from that strong energy. Ability to manage your emotions easier. Emotional regulation is something that gave me so much sense of peace and better mental health for myself in the long run. It's still a work in progress. I'm not going to pretend that I'm perfect at all of these things. You'll never get me as a coach or mentor acting like I know everything, because that's not the case. I'm always continuing to learn and grow. And as I do that, I become a better mentor and guide, and I share that with you guys. Better sleep, reduced or no anxiety, higher ability to cope with change, and freedom from shame and guilt. These are all really, really empowering things. So the Phoenix Rising is a very powerful program. If you're interested in getting into healing a bit deeper, we can definitely do that. Thank you so much for your time and sharing it with us. This was all super informative, and you gave so much great information. Your insight is spot on, and I really appreciate your live videos. Thanks, Beck. It was you that hopped on the video early, right? Because I made a mistake on my event. So I tried to reach out to you because I thought it was you. All right. Do we have any questions before I end? Okay. Mary said, oh, that one is super hard for me, but I use the same phrase, I'm too busy. Also, this is not the right time to talk about this, and we can revisit this later on. I use that one a lot. Yeah. Way to go, Twinny. When I first met you, never did anything like that. I love it. It creates so much freedom. It's so, if I can invite you to say a little bit, I don't know if you're in the right space, you just let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll have you come on here and you can talk about how you feel about how you've implemented boundaries and what it's done for you. But there's no pressure. I don't want you to feel like you have to. So just say yes or no. You can set your boundary with me.
Did you want me to say something now, Twinny?
Sure, only if you feel comfortable, but I think you're a great example of, maybe you could touch on how you used to be and how you feel now, because it's such a huge transformation.
Oh my God, where do I begin?
Wherever you would like.
Okay, so I wear lots of bracelets on each wrist. So my arm was full with bracelets, as you remember. And I am downsized. Sometimes I wear 3. Sometimes right now, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm wearing 5 on this wrist and 5 on this wrist. And last Friday, I'm going to go back a little bit because that will bring us back to where I am now. And Friday, apparently we were still in Mercury retrograde, but it was in its shadow. And I got hit in a very safe area to drive in when I was at work. I am a delivery person, and I'm still in kind of like a shock. Like, okay, I know I have to drive to the store, but my head is like on a swivel stick. It is worse now than it ever was before. I'm starting to get to feel better, but it's like, oh man, boundaries. You hit it right on the nail, Jennean, when you said you got to set the boundaries, because I have not been setting boundaries lately. The insurance company, as an example, they're going to see the preliminary estimate report. It's over $6,000. They're going to say, we'll fix this. It's not even going to be close to $6,000, because I know AAA, we have it for road insurance, and they're as tight as a drum for California anyway. Next thing, what do we do? Do we go to a lawyer? Do I get my car fixed to let them do what they want to do? No. Not good enough. I'm the one who got hit. That person needs to pay for what they did to me. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Absolutely boundaries on that one. So in a nutshell, yeah, I went from timid Mary, like, Mary, how's your garden grow? With flowers that don't grow, to my lotus has blossomed and I am transformed.
You really have. You honestly, I love to tease about this, and thank you for being brave enough to hop on. And you are very right about boundaries in a lot of ways, right? Like, you are not feeling safe. You are valid for all of the feelings that you have with what has happened. So boundaries, with going back to work when you're not ready, boundaries of what you need emotionally right now, boundaries with the company, because you could easily just let all of that up. So boundaries with your husband, boundaries with yourself, not allowing yourself to feel pressured for going back to work, because a lot of us love to just act like, oh, wow, you were in a car accident. Well, you're traumatized. Trauma is anything that overwhelms us. When I say that I help people with trauma, it's not just these gut wrenching things. Yes, a lot of us have gone through that, but being hit by a car is traumatizing. You were scared for your life. You were shocked, and your emotional system. So going through these boundaries, and now you kind of have like that subconscious habit already now, because it's been years now that you've been learning to implement them, and you've become very empowered in them. I've seen you do it in a very tough scenario. We won't go into details in your life, but you're up against one of the toughest scenarios in your life on how to set boundaries. So you've gotten very good at it, and just reminding yourself during this situation that you are allowed to set boundaries of when you feel comfortable to go back to work. That's okay. Money will always be there. And then in the end, you're in a partnership. So if you're not able to go back to work, then maybe somebody else can for a little while, right? Just to pick up the slack. That's how a partnership works. And that's where, our friendship, I'm your support in this, because I know that you are incredibly sensitive. You are a beautiful, sensitive. It's something that I value about you. You're one of the most loving people I've ever seen. So I'm sure that this was really a lot for you energetically. I bet you it's difficult just to go outside right now. So I'm here to validate your feelings, and I'm glad that you hopped on here for this video. You are loved. I know that this is very hard. I can feel you now. So just allow it to come out. You're not on the video right now. So just let it, don't hold it in, because that's where we end up with these triggers, is we don't allow these emotions out because they feel too big, and we get too scared that we're not going to be able to handle them because we feel so overwhelmed. And then what happens is we store it in our body, and then we become triggered because we're driving and all of a sudden we see something in the corner of our eye, or we're even the trigger of just being around a car, or a trigger of being outside, or like there's so many. It could be a smell. Like you could associate a smell with driving from what happened, right? So then because it's stored in our body, it's not even about what's happening when we're triggered. It's because we were scared for our life. And what was associated around that time, say you had an air freshener in your car, you could very easily be triggered just by the scent of that air freshener. That's how trauma works. So allowing yourself this understanding, because you are such a beautiful human being. I know this has been a lot and you've literally just powered through it, but understanding that you need to have the own personal boundaries for yourself to heal. Give yourself that time. You are validated to be scared. My stepmother got in a car accident. She couldn't drive for almost a year afterwards. She was terrified. And to this day, she still flinches when it's a side road. So you're allowed to feel whatever it is that comes up, and just let it come out as it comes out. You've gotten very good at that, and I think you should be really proud of that. So this is my boundaries video. I don't know if anybody has any more questions here. I just wanted to really kind of unload boundaries, because I think that it's an important tool for us to constantly be learning. If it's something that you feel called and you really strongly want to get into boundaries, I happen to have a lot of experience with it. I specifically have a lot of experience with addiction and boundaries. So if you have a partner with addiction and you are trying to implement boundaries to understand and stop the chaos that's going on in your life, if you have family members that are addicted, I happen to have a lot of experience in that area on how to set boundaries in such a chaotic environment. So our Phoenix Rising package is always available. All you have to do is reach out to me in a private message, or go to the website mindbodysoulhealings.ca and book a discovery call, and we can discuss whether it's the right fit. I am never about talking someone into taking one of my programs or coaching unless it feels like a divine fit. So I'm calling in my soul clients and my soul, kindred spirits that I'm meant to create this community with. So you could always set the discovery call, even if you just want to have a chat with me. So it's available there. My schedule is all implemented in there. So anything that's available on the scheduling app is an available spot to speak with me. So lots of love and light to all of you guys. I think that tomorrow is going to be a really, really important one that goes along with this inspired message. I'm really passionate about this one, so I got all fired up. Can't help it, because this was such a pivotal part for helping me transform my life. My life without boundaries before was me playing the victim, me feeling out of touch with myself, chaotic, resentful, hurt. I constantly felt hurt because I didn't understand why people weren't just following my boundaries that were in my head. I didn't know that I needed to verbalize them. So when people crossed them, I actually got hurt inside, because I was like, they don't love me, don't respect me. Okay, well, they didn't know. So learning, healthy ways of life was really transformative to me. So values goes along with understanding what are boundary violations. Until you know how you're operating, what your core values are, you can start understanding where you violated boundaries for yourself, where you're violating yourself on a lot of levels, because your values are here. You don't actually consciously know them. And we do know, like, loyalty is a value for me, but have you sat down and actually gone over it? I know Twinny has. She's really gotten in touch with what her core values are with her life. So she knows when she's violating them now. But some of us on a subconscious level, what our real values are and what our paradigms are not in touch with each other. So we're constantly experiencing this inner violation of ourselves. And when we violate our core values, we give up pieces of ourselves. We give up pieces of our confidence. We sacrifice ourselves. And that's where we start to feel lost after a while when this is happening. So that's why understanding our core values, I'm getting chills. So Spirit is speaking through me at this point. When we understand what we stand for, how to align with that, how to set boundaries that are going to keep you safe, it is what empowers you. It is what allows you to stand in your divinity and say, hey, I'm here. This isn't okay with me, even to yourself. Sometimes I got to remind myself that I'm not living within my own values. It happens. We're human, and we have, programming, and part of the journey of healing and working with a coach, be it myself or somebody else. It's not just all about me. It's about working with somebody because we need that help. It's understanding where we're violating our own values and our own things that align with our life. So I'm done verbally spewing now. It's just coming out of me, but I'm very passionate about this one. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow. It's going to be the same time at night, just because I need time to sleep. So my own personal boundaries are that I need to not get up too early and try to do these videos that align with other people, because I need this sense of sanity, because working all night is actually a difficult thing to try to sleep during the day. It's not easy. So I love each and every one of you guys. This will be added to the I think I'm going to add a October inspired message guide. And then over the next month or two, you're going to see me start removing some of the guides and shifting more of my content into my own stuff and creating some PDFs to help you guys and all that kind of stuff. So if there's any that you really like, I would download some of them as of right now, but the inspired messages will always be there. That's going to be something that's going to stay. The challenges will stay, but some of the other stuff is going to be slowly removed here and replaced with stuff. Tomorrow is my really long work day, but I will absolutely watch the replay and that. Thank you so much for speaking on this topic tonight. I appreciate so much. And appreciate you even more. I cannot wait to speak to you on Sunday. It's like my soul is like, I cannot wait. It's like celebrating. So absolutely don't have to be there live. You guys are that's why I stream into the group for now with these videos, is to allow you guys to hop on whenever you guys can. I love it when you guys hop on these Zooms, because then I get to see your guys' beautiful face and feel your energy. So very, very excited for the rest of this month. I've scheduled out, I will go over tonight to make sure that I didn't make any other mistakes with my times, but this one was an important one. If you guys need to watch the replay, just to remind yourself, because I think a lot of us aren't aware of how many different boundaries there are, and there's more than what I touched on, but these are some of the big areas of life where we lose track, or we think that we have strong boundaries and sometimes we don't. You know, there was some areas I was pretty good at them with relationships, but some of them I didn't know, like my emotional boundaries. Some of them I didn't know the sexual boundaries. You know, I came from a life where I was not taught any of this stuff. I was not taught how to be a healthy human being. I was not taught how to deal with my emotions. I was left by myself to unravel very absolute severe trauma, you know, as a little kid. And this is a trigger warning, so any of you guys that are really sensitive that can't handle this, I would turn the video off. But as a little girl, at like as early as 4 years old, I would be going over for a visit for my mother, and she would be drunk and I wouldn't be allowed to visit. And I would get all done up and I would have my little bag, and my dad would bring me to the door, and then my mom would answer and she would be drunk, and I would literally have to physically be dragged out of there because I wanted to see her so bad. So that was like a continuous thing. And then nobody ever showed me how to unpack that. So learning boundaries was really important for me, and learning emotional regulation was life-saving for me, because for me, I just let everything like pile up inside, and then I would like spew out this breakdown that I would have. And now I understand how to unpack these emotions in a way more graceful way. So stay tuned. I believe this month we have emotional regulations. If you are interested, I actually have one of the lessons. If you want a little taste of what the mentorship is like, emotional regulations and co-regulations was one of our course content. It was a video that Miss Mary, who I call Twinny, if you guys are wondering, it was Mary and I, when I had my astrology natal chart wrong, my time, we had all of the same houses with all the same signs. So we called each other Twinny. Although that's changed when I learned my actual time, she's always going to be my Twinny. So if you're confused, that's where the Twinny comes in. She's definitely one of my soul sisters. She's been on this journey with me for a very long time. So if you're interested right now, before I do the inspired messages, we have on our website, mybodysoulhealings.ca, emotional regulations and co-regulations under the course tab. You just need to register yourself as a member on my WordPress site in order to get yourself into the courses and stuff. So if you need help with that, just reach out with me. But that has been an hour. I didn't think it was going to go a whole hour, but such is life. The universe decided. I will see you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. I almost don't want to sign off because I see you 20, but I'm going to end the live video. And if you want to connect, because I feel like you need to, we can do that after this. Okay. So see you guys tomorrow.